Welcome to the Beginner Investor Podcast. I'm your host, Luke Burke, and today I want to talk about the big AI boom that we're seeing. Now, it started out with the chip stocks. NVIDIA has kind of been the cornerstone of the chips, of the AI boom in general. If you're a gamer or you were a graphic designer and you worked on computers, you knew for a long time, you've known for a long time that NVIDIA was like the gold standard. So it doesn't surprise me to see that NVIDIA kind of became the anchor to the AI movement. But what I will say is at some point, they're going to have to transition away from the focus on chips to the focus on actually building the infrastructure and the data centers. Recently, Berkshire Hathaway put out their 13F filing. In this filing, it's a requirement for the SEC if you're managing over $100 million of assets to report quarterly on, said shares or assets for the stock market. So what Berkshire had recently purchased last quarter was Nucor, which is a steel company. So that goes towards that infrastructure and that build out of the AI data centers. So that will cover that. But I personally believe that after that point is exhausted, there's going to be another push. And I believe there are three companies that I think are going to be very significant in that next push. This is just my opinion and not meant to be investment advice. And I just want you to pay attention to what's happening. So what's going to happen? We're going to start to see a lot of AI implementation. Once the buildings are built, once the chips are in, once all the data centers are up and running and everybody is networked, you're going to start seeing a lot more operation. You're going to start to see this compute power being actually used in real life. And what I think is going to happen is now we're going to start focusing back on the actual data that's built and that's been saved up and that the companies and users are going to use to build out all of this artificial intelligence. There are two main ones that I want to talk about, and then there's one that I think is a sleeper. So the two main ones that I want to talk about are Google, Alphabet, and Reddit. If you think about these two stocks, so let's think about AI for a little bit here, right? So AI is data. Large data sets is necessary for AI because you have to teach AI and it has to have a lot of data to learn. The more data it has and the more times it can repeat that data, the better it learns. I'll give you a quick example. If you're trying to teach an AI robot how to recognize red, then you're going to keep showing it red, green, blue, yellow, orange, red, green, blue, yellow, orange. You're going to keep teaching it and training it. Hey, this is what red looks like. This is what red looks like. This is what red looks like. But if you don't have the blue, white, green, yellow data, then it's kind of hard to train your AI to tell the difference. That's why the more data you have, the better you can train your AI to do your specific task. So I believe that the two companies, Alphabet and Reddit, they have a lot of data to be built off of, okay? So if you look at Alphabet, Google, for the last 25 years, we've been Googling this, Googling that. They have our data. When you look at YouTube videos, they're able to break down age demographic, all these things. They have the data. Next, when I Google something and it'll bring me to Reddit. Usually I'll see a Reddit board at least once or twice in my search. So they also have a lot of user data that they're going to be able to use to, I wouldn't say corner the market, but they're going to have a step ahead of all the data gathering that's already been taking place. Now, I'm not saying nobody else is going to have data, but this is just my experience that these two companies are going to have a lot of data to drive artificial intelligence models. The sleeper that I was going to talk about is Meta. Meta, their company Facebook, a few years ago, they changed from Facebook being on the stock market to call themselves Meta, and everyone was trying to figure out what was going on. They were talking about the metaverse during the pandemic. Nobody could figure it out. But I tell you what, last year I felt like whoever is running their artificial intelligence, whoever is running their technology division, they've hit something. I think that Meta has a lot of information. They have a lot of data around a lot of people just querying things on Facebook. Look, you have a lot of Facebook groups. People are chatting and questioning, and they're going to be able to use all of this data in their artificial intelligence models. And I just think that they're a sleeper because nobody really thinks about them when it comes to AI. I watched their conference last year, and I thought it was amazing the VR glasses that they're producing, because these are not normal VR glasses. These are glasses that look like eyewear glasses, not the thing that you put on your face. These are like eyewear glasses that could visually project virtual reality right in front of you. That is not something that I've seen done. I've seen the VR on your headsets, but I've never seen glasses that look. So you could potentially be sitting wearing glasses and texting someone and nobody will ever really realize what you're doing. That's just the way I perceived that. So I think Meta is also one of those companies that is going to be huge in the AI. So there you have it. I think that the next wave after the build out, after the building of the data centers and all that, I think we're going to get back to, focusing on the data. Now, there could be some other steps. You're going to have to, people are going to have to get funding. They're going to have to do all this stuff. The infrastructure part is going to take a while. But all I'm saying is, once that's built out, once you got your chips, and one last thing I want to say. The next issue that I believe, again, this is only my personal belief, from my limited understanding of how the whole artificial intelligence chain works. The next thing that you're going to have to deal with is processing power. You want to limit how much power you're using. You hear things like liquid cooling. You want to limit the power you're using. From everything that I read about quantum computing is going to allow data centers to run and use up less power than they would traditionally. Now, I also just recently read that NVIDIA may already be transitioning to working out some kind of quantum computing thing. But I don't know. There are some quantum computing companies that I'm aware of, but none of them that I know are profitable at the moment. So it's kind of hard to recommend you look at those. But, if you have some free time and you want to look up some quantum computing, go Google just quantum computing stocks and you'll see a whole lot of them. There's one that I am particularly watching because I keep hearing about it, but it's not publicly traded. It's called Quantinuum, I believe. It's not publicly traded, but it's on my radar because I've been hearing a lot about it. So anyway, point of this is where I see AI and how that pertains to the stock market, giving you those companies that I think are going to be crucial going forward. And one more thing, a lot of people kind of wrote off Alphabet, early on in the AI thing because they said that Alphabet wouldn't, they wouldn't be able to keep up. Google wouldn't be able to keep up, but they did. And now they're keeping up and they're doing a good job. All right. Thanks for watching.